Hi, I'm Shin. I was an artist-in-residence in spring 2016.
My name is TJ Mohammed. I was artist-in-residence here in 2020.
Hi, my name is Dario Mohr. I was an artist-in-residence in materials for the arts, fall 2020 into spring 2021.
My name is Annalisa, ladicicco, and I was the 2018 spring artist-in-residence in material for the arts.
My name is Benjamin Pederson, and I was artist-in-residence in material for the arts in 2013.
My name is Roberto Visani.
I was an artist-in-residence at Materials for the Arts last year in the summer of 2021.
I was a resident artist in 2014.
My name is Juan Hinojosa, and I was artist-in-residence MFTA in 2015 or 2016, time's fuzzy. But yeah, it was a great experience.
My name is John Kaiser, and I am the Director of Education at Materials for the Arts and the Gallery Director at Materials for the Arts. At Materials for the Arts, we give away so many supplies to artists and to schools and to libraries, and we really wanted to think of a way to immediately communicate to people how these supplies could be used by fantastic artists. We know that artists across New York City reuse materials all the time in fancy spaces like Chelsea galleries and museums, and we wanted to convey to people right away as they walked in that these weren't just like budget supplies or leftover materials that weren't quite as good as normal art supplies, but they were actually the supplies that artists are using today.
Coming to Materials for the Arts in 2020 gave me the opportunity to think around and outside of, fabric and paper. That was where, I started working with any kind of material that I find, and it was a perfect opportunity for me, seeing myself like somewhere in the Amazon forest of art materials.
And so by working with different artists and having their work on display in the gallery when people walk in, right away we wanted to give people a sense that these supplies were awesome.
MFTA just made things possible and made things seem so easy, which is so hard to do in a city that you're fighting against, that you love. It's like a bad boyfriend.
There was an installation that I had wanted to do for a really long time, and I already had a sketch for it. And it was basically this big fence, wall to wall. It was 6 meters, I think, by 2. So it was really, really big, and it was all made with discarded jewelry. And I had wanted to do that for a really long time. And then when I went to the warehouse and saw all these loads of bling, I was like, this is the moment to do this. And it was also really interesting to see how that changed from the idea that I had. While I was working there, it did evolve during the process of making it. And it also changed with the interpretation of the public, which is a different interpretation from my own.
Every time people walk into the gallery, immediately, as they're coming into Materials for the Arts, they're getting inspired by these top-level art pieces, so that when they come in, they're really able to think of these materials as being valuable for their own art projects.
Every day, during the residency, I couldn't sleep because when I knew I was coming in, I was so excited. I was so excited for 9 o'clock to come when the warehouse would open or something, And then I had a certain mind of, I'm gonna go back to my studio and work on X, Y, and Z. But then the minute I would walk through, and there's a long path from coming to the entrance to the studio in the back. And during that time, my ideas would change completely because I would spot something on one alley and another thing on another. And, before I could make it, my cart was filled.
Yeah, it's a magical place. It was really a magical place.
I think that was very formative. It was almost like a laboratory that I had at my disposal to try and fail with different combinations. My time at Material for the Arts was just crazy because it was like it just really exposed me to just a plethora of just anything I could think of. Walking around with a shopping cart through there and just kind of going to town.
Part of my studio practice would just be like, let me take a break and let me just go brainstorm, and so just like looking at various things. Really, the sheet material in the back corner where they have, plywood and plexiglass and sometimes sheet metal and formica, various things like that I spent a lot of time in.
The fabric section lost a lot of weight when I was there. In addition to these large textile paintings that I made, I also did a collaboration during my residency where I made large storm skirts with a former student of mine, Annalisa Meyer. And these storm skirts were activated in a performance called Succumbing to Storm.
Yeah, it was a really great time, just being able to peruse around and just find things that like maybe you would never even think to use in some way. My practice is pretty interdisciplinary, so I paint, I sculpt, but the aspect of assemblage and installation, I was really able to take off with that and make that sort of the mainstay of a lot of the focus of a lot of the work that I created. And I created work that I've never created, unlike anything I've created before while I was there.
I wanted to create a space at Materials for the Arts that would honor some of the top artists that work with reusable materials. And so that was how the gallery was born, really on a shoestring.
The work itself has always been about recycling and upcycling. I think it's because like when you grow up poor, you always try to make the most of what you have, and if not, reinterpret it to make it fit your current needs. I think I buy glue. Staples for a staple gun. That's about it.
As a society, we need to be more responsible with the materials that we consume and that are made for our consumption, and that if we don't consume them, they just get they don't get to simply disappear. They go somewhere.
And also, sometimes when you see these materials in their new forms and shape wrapped in all these plastic and cardboard, you don't see the beauty as when they are aging. So this unintentional, arrangement of colors, it's inspiring for me. And happen to see fabric or yarn that is used and in different sizes and length, it's one of the fascinating moments for me when I spend time in this aisle.
When you come to Materials for the Arts, it's a shopping spree for supplies, and people are getting inspired, and sometimes they're thinking of huge projects, they're thinking of working with kids, they're working with all these really exciting things, and the Artist-in-Residence program really helps make that physical right when you're at Materials for the Arts.
Actually, that was one of the best things, to be able to have a studio and have people come to your studio and see your practice and see how you transform this object. And some people, they don't, it's hard for them to see this transformation. So they were amazed and be like, oh wow, that was a stool and you're making it into a water tower. And so also for kids, it was amazing, to come and just look around.
I felt very much a part of everything that was going on, between me walking through the floor. But it's kind of interesting to sort of think about how you can bring these different histories together, where something feels like it was in a domestic environment, something feels like it was in an outdoor environment. These different objects or materials start to communicate with one another as they're composed. And I know that there's one artist in particular that jumps into my mind who's very good at that is Michael Kelly Williams, who's going to be in the show with us.
I'm always looking forward to the next residency because I never know what's coming next. And it's always something that completely blows my mind. That's a totally new idea. We always get new materials, so we never know what to expect.
And I think there's such a model for our field, for creative reuse, for these incredible partnerships between the city and corporations and individuals who are making donations, who really believe in sustainability, right? Wanting to divert things from the waste stream. And that alone is such a message,
So I just can't express how thankful I am as an artist, and how thankful I think all the artists who did the program are to the entire team.
Yeah, I'm just very grateful to Materials for the Arts, and I'm very excited to see, new Artist-in-Residence work.
Sometimes I like to think that Materials for the Arts is my favorite artist. And it's kind of this, kind of this board, this form where all these materials come, but they've been selected. They've been given by people that selected to give them. They were created in this city for some reason. And as they come together here, it really is a limited supply source for being inspired, except that limited supply source is New York City.